Ladies and gentlemen, I am proud to welcome you this evening as your Master of Ceremonies to the official launch of Black History Month 2013.
I'll tell you, when I first had the privilege of being Canada's Minister for Multiculturalism 6 years ago, one of the things I wanted to really focus on was building up Black History Month as a key part of our annual commemorations, to teach Canadians about how the history of Canadians of African origin is really Canadian history, et pour présenter les rôles modèles positifs à la jeunesse d'aujourd'hui. Et je suis tellement fier du progrès que nous avons fait avec ces commémorations et cette démarche d'éducation. Friends, comme j'ai dit, le mois de l'histoire des Noirs, ça fait partie de notre histoire en tant que Canadiens. You know, it was the black loyalists who helped to found Canada at the end of the 18th century. It was, in return, Canada, Upper Canada, under the leadership of Lieutenant Governor John Graves Simcoe in 1793, that was one of the first places in the world to ban slavery. The history of Canadians of African and Caribbean origin is, in many important ways, Canada's history. In our new Canadian study guide for people aspiring to become citizens, qui s'appelle Découvrir le Canada, nous incluons l'histoire des Noirs du Canada. We made a particular point. I think we featured over a dozen prominent Canadians of African origin that are now studied by all of those aspiring to join our family as citizens. Donc cette année, nous célébrons en particulier la contribution des Canadiens noirs aux organismes d'application de la loi, qu'ils soient des pionniers de l'histoire ou des leaders actuels. Je tiens à remercier tous les membres de la communauté policière canadienne qui sont ici ce soir, mais je tiens encore plus à vous remercier de votre engagement à servir et à protéger les Canadiens. So this year we are in particular celebrating Black Canadians in law enforcement, both past and present leaders. Among those here with us this evening is our guest speaker, Mr. Devin Clunas. Last year, Mr. Clunas became Canada's first Black Chief of Police when he was sworn in as the Chief of Winnipeg's police force, and we congratulate you on that benchmark, sir. Mesdames et messieurs, en reconnaissant l'histoire des Noirs et en célébrant des personnages historiques, nous commémorons l'héritage des Canadiens. Je tiens d'ailleurs à vous rappeler que vous pouvez en apprendre davantage sur les pionniers et les leaders de la police sur le site web de CIC. And one of the really good things my ministry has done for Black history in general is the creation of our virtual online museum that connects people to archival collections and Black history museums all across Canada. We encourage you to go and visit that. There's a big focus, particularly on Harriet Tubman and the Underground Railroad. And this year we should, in particular, I think, all keep in our minds one of the great Canadians of Caribbean origin, the recently deceased Honorable Lincoln Alexander, a great Canadian. We miss him all. So as we kick off celebrations that will honor those who have done so much for this great country, it's also fitting for us to honor an outstanding individual here with us this evening for his ongoing contributions. Born in Somalia, Abdul Qadir Mohammed, or Mo Douala, came to Canada as a refugee when he was just 13 years old. Today, he patrols Ottawa's streets as a city bylaw officer. This past year, Mr. Douala went above and beyond his call of duty when he heroically stepped in to save 3 lives in Ottawa, all on separate occasions. Mr. Douala's brave actions exemplify courage and heroism, and so it is truly fitting at this celebration of the quiet courage and service of African Canadian law enforcement officers to recognize his dedication as an example of that service by presenting Mr. Douala with Her Majesty the Queen's Diamond Jubilee Medal. Mo, please come on up.
Thank you. I truly was humbled when I received a call asking me to attend this event. I thought, why me? Truly, I don't feel I'm anyone special, so I truly am humbled to be here. I have to tell you honestly, when I became a police officer, I did not set out to make any type of history. I simply set out to make a difference, to impact the lives particularly of young people the same way my life was impacted in my youth. And I was initially driven by a desire to set an example for black youth in our city, to break the stereotypes that we typically see in mainstream media of what it meant to be black. But as I started doing that work, I soon realized that youth required role models. The need for role models crossed all ethnic boundaries, and that the youth really didn't care what I looked like, so long as they knew that I cared about them. And so the main message I want to leave you with in the brief time we have together is that when you're given the opportunity, we have a great responsibility to be a difference maker, particularly in the lives of young people. Now, our ability to be difference makers is not dependent on our occupation. It's certainly not dependent on our ancestry. It's not dependent on our social status or any other limitations that individuals or society might try to place on us. We simply need to make that our purpose, our drive and desire to make a difference and set out to find a way to make that difference. So in this very moment, I have to tell you, I am living my dream of being able to make that difference. I'm driven by the experiences of a little boy who immigrated to Canada in 1975, unsure of what the future had in store for him. A little boy who was challenged by the cultural upheaval. A little boy who was able to succeed because individuals purposely set out to make a difference in that little boy's life. But teachers significantly impacted my life as well. The little boy in grade 6, as I told you, struggled initially with the changes, not only the weather, because you know, but the cultural upheaval. And I failed grade 6. And a teacher, Mrs. Hannah, I always remember her. She said, Devon, if you would come to school an hour early every day, I'll meet you. And so I would faithfully get up every day and I would join Mrs. Hannah an hour ahead of all the kids. And 3 years later, the little boy who failed grade 6, but a teacher dedicated time and effort to him, graduated grade 9 as a top student in the school because she made a difference.
Just briefly, I want to introduce another very distinguished Canadian of Caribbean origin, Judge John Dennison, our latest appointment to the Canadian Citizenship Commission. Judge Dennison has done yeoman service in the past to Citizenship and Immigration Canada and the Government of Canada as a public servant, but I especially want to highlight the fact that he, for many, many years, was the man who ensured that the Government of Canada properly recognized Black History Month and was a great collaborator of mine in helping to really build this up into an important national tradition. Thank you for that, John.
Veuillez lever votre main droite, s'il vous plaît, and repeat after me. I affirm that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Her Majesty, Queen Elizabeth II, Reine du Canada, à ses héritiers et successeurs, que j'observerai fidèlement les lois du Canada et que je remplirai loyalement mes obligations de citoyen canadien. Thank you. Merci.